Jiho Park pushed his glasses up his nose and stared at the small screen in his hand. The numbers made no sense. His biosensor was showing an energy pattern he had never seen before. It was coming from the old warehouse across the empty lot. He should not be here. The restricted zone near the Han River was off limits to students. But Jiho was doing his field study, and the readings were too strange to ignore. At 17 years old, he had already read more xenobiology papers than most graduate students. He knew what normal looked like. This was not normal. The warehouse looked abandoned. Broken windows stared down at him like empty eyes. Rust covered the metal doors. Jiho checked his sensor again. The signal was strong. Something alive was in there. Something that did not belong on Earth. His heart beat faster as he walked to the door. The smart thing would be to call his professor. The safe thing would be to go back to campus. But Jiho had spent his whole life being smart and safe. He had spent his whole life reading about aliens in books while other students made friends and had adventures. Just once. He wanted to be the person who discovered something amazing. The door creaked when he pushed it open. Inside, the warehouse was dark and cold. Dust floated in the thin beams of light coming through the broken roof. Jiho turned on his flashlight and followed the biosensor readings deeper into the building. Then he heard it. A small sound like a whimper, like something in pain. Jiho ran toward the sound. His flashlight beam bounced off old machinery and piles of forgotten equipment. Then the light found what he was looking for, and Jiho stopped so fast he almost fell. Chained to a metal beam was a creature unlike anything he had seen before. It was about the size of a large dog, but it was definitely not a dog. Its body was covered in fur that looked like midnight sky, deep blue and black. Patterns glowed faintly under the fur like stars under dark water. The creature's shape was similar to a wolf, with 4 legs and a long snout, but the proportions were all wrong for any Earth animal. The chains around its neck and legs were not normal chains. They glowed with a soft blue light. Energy restraints, Jiho realized. The kind used to hold dangerous prisoners, but this creature was not dangerous. It was dying. Jiho could see deep wounds on its body. Blood matted its beautiful fur. The creature was so thin that its ribs showed through its skin. It lay on its side, breathing in short, painful gasps. Someone had hurt this creature. Someone had chained it here and left it to die alone in the dark. Anger burned in Jiho's chest. He had read about illegal alien trafficking. He knew that some humans did terrible things for money. But reading about it in news articles was different from seeing it with his own eyes. Jiho knelt down slowly, careful not to scare the creature. He pulled out his medical scanner and ran it over the alien's body. The results made his stomach turn. Multiple broken bones, internal bleeding, severe dehydration, organ failure beginning. The creature had been here for days, maybe weeks, without food or water. But something else caught Jiho's attention. The neural readings. He ran the scan again, certain he had made a mistake. But the numbers did not change. The creature's brain activity was incredibly complex. More complex than any animal, more complex than dolphins or apes or even elephants. This was not an animal. This brain pattern showed abstract thinking, problem solving, language capability, memory formation at a level that suggested self-awareness. Jiho's hand started to shake. He was looking at intelligence, real sapient intelligence. He moved closer, trying to figure out how to disable the energy restraints without hurting the creature. That was when it opened its eyes. Jiho froze. The creature's eyes were gold, bright glowing gold with vertical pupils like a cat. But there was something in those eyes that no cat had ever shown. There was understanding. There was awareness. There was fear and pain and something else. Hope, maybe, or plea. The creature looked directly at Jiho. Not the way an animal looks at a human. The way a person looks at another person. The way someone looks when they are asking for help without words. In that moment, Jiho understood. This was not just an intelligent alien animal. This was a child of an unknown species, a child who had been captured and tortured and abandoned, a child who was dying alone, far from home, with no one to hear its cries. Tears filled Jiho's eyes. His whole body trembled with rage and grief. What kind of monster could do this? What kind of person could look into those aware, intelligent eyes and still cause pain? The creature made a soft sound. Not quite a whimper, not quite a chirp. Its glowing patterns flickered weakly, pulsing in rhythm with its labored breathing. Jiho made his decision in less than a second. He did not care about the law. He did not care about getting in trouble. He did not care about anything except saving this child. He pulled his multi-tool from his backpack and examined the energy restraints. They were military grade, probably stolen from a government facility. The lock mechanism was complex, but Jiho had taken apart more complicated devices in his engineering electives. His hands moved fast, disconnecting power cells and rewiring circuits. The creature watched him work. Its golden eyes followed every movement. Jiho kept talking in a soft voice even though he knew the creature could not understand Korean. "It's okay. I'm going to help you. You're going to be safe. I promise." The first restraint clicked open, then the second, then the third. When the last chain fell away, the creature tried to stand but collapsed. It was too weak. Jiho took off his jacket and wrapped it around the small alien body as gently as he could. The creature was surprisingly light, as if its bones were hollow like a bird's. It made another soft sound and pressed against Jiho's chest. The glowing patterns in its fur pulsed slightly brighter. Jiho held the alien child close and started walking toward the door. His mind raced. He needed medical supplies. He needed equipment. He needed help. But who could he trust? If he went to the authorities, they would take the creature away. They would study it. They might dissect it. Or worse, they might return it to whoever had done this. No, he had to do this alone, or at least almost alone. Sunwoo would help. His roommate was loud and social and everything Jiho was not, but Sunwoo had a good heart. He would understand. Jiho stepped out of the warehouse into the late afternoon light. The alien child stirred in his arms, making a questioning sound. Jiho looked down at those golden eyes and felt something shift in his chest. He had spent his whole life dreaming of finding intelligent alien life. He had imagined grand first contacts and diplomatic missions. He had never imagined this. He had never imagined holding a dying child and knowing that the next few hours would decide whether it lived or died. He had never imagined that first contact would feel like this. Like terror and responsibility and desperate hope all mixed together. "I've got you," Jiho whispered. "You're not alone anymore. I promise I'll save you." The creature's glowing patterns pulsed once like a heartbeat, like an answer. Jiho started running toward home, holding the most important discovery in human history carefully against his chest. He did not know it yet, but this moment would change everything. Not just for him, but for all of humanity. Because sometimes the greatest adventures begin not with grand plans or noble intentions, but with one simple choice. The choice to help someone who cannot help themselves. The choice to be kind in a cruel world. The choice to do what is right even when it is dangerous. The choice to care. Jiho burst through the apartment door, breathing hard from running up 4 flights of stairs. The alien child was still wrapped in his jacket, barely conscious. He kicked the door shut behind him and headed straight for his room. "Jiho, that you?" Sunwoo's voice came from the kitchen. "You're home early. Did you finish your field study already?" Jiho did not answer. He was too busy clearing his desk, pushing books and papers onto the floor. He laid the creature down gently and unwrapped his jacket. In the bright light of his room, the alien looked even worse. Its beautiful fur was matted with blood and dirt. The glowing patterns were dim, barely visible. He grabbed his emergency medical kit from under his bed. It was meant for human first aid, but it would have to work. He pulled out antiseptic, bandages, and his personal medical scanner. "Hey, are you okay? You look like you ran a marathon." Sunwoo appeared in the doorway holding a cup of coffee. He froze. The coffee cup slipped from his hand and shattered on the floor. "What is that?" Sunwoo's voice was barely a whisper. "Help me," Jiho said. His hands were shaking as he tried to clean the wounds on the creature's side. "I need you to hold it still while I work." "Please, Sunwoo. It's dying." Sunwoo stood there for 3 full seconds, eyes wide with shock. Then he moved. He grabbed towels from the bathroom and knelt next to Jiho. "Tell me what to do." For the next 2 hours, they worked together to save the alien's life. Jiho cleaned and bandaged wounds. He gave the creature water through a tube. Just drops at first to avoid shock. Sunwoo held it steady and followed every instruction without question. The creature whimpered sometimes, soft sounds of pain that made both young men wince. But it never tried to bite or scratch. It seemed to understand they were helping. When the worst was over, when the bleeding had stopped and the wounds were wrapped, Sunwoo finally spoke. "Jiho, what have you done?" "I saved a life. You brought an alien into our apartment. Do you know how illegal this is?" If anyone finds out, we'll both go to prison. Sunwoo ran his hands through his hair. We need to call someone. The police. The colonial administration. Someone. No, Jiho's voice was firm. Look at it, Sunwoo. Really look. Someone did this on purpose. Someone tortured it and left it to die. If we call the authorities, what do you think will happen? Sunwoo looked down at the small creature. It had curled into a ball, trembling. Its golden eyes were half closed, exhausted from pain. They'll take it away for study, Jiho continued. Or they'll give it back to whoever did this, or worse. You know how the government handles unknown alien species. We've both read the reports. Sunwoo was quiet for a long moment. So what do? We take care of it. Until it gets better. Until we figure out what to do. Jiho met his roommate's eyes. Please, Sunwoo. I can't do this alone. Sunwoo sighed deeply. Then he nodded. Okay, but you owe me. Big time. Over the next 3 days, they watched the alien slowly recover. Jiho researched every xenobiology paper he could find, trying to figure out what it needed to eat, how to care for it. Sunwoo built a comfortable bed from blankets and set up a heat lamp to keep it warm. The creature was surprisingly intelligent. On the second day, it figured out how to use the water bowl they had set out. On the third day, it started moving around the apartment carefully, exploring with cautious steps. But what amazed them most was how it tried to communicate. The creature would make different sounds like it was trying to talk. It would point at things with its nose or paw as if asking questions. When Jiho spoke to it, it would tilt its head and listen carefully like it was trying to understand. It's not an animal, Sunwoo said one evening. They were sitting on the floor, watching the creature try to open a cabinet door. It was using its paws in a deliberate way, testing different approaches. That's problem solving. That's tool use. I know, Jiho said quietly. I ran neural scans. This creature is sapient. It's a person, Sunwoo. A child person, but still a person. They both sat in silence, watching this alien child explore their small apartment like any curious youngster might. We need to give it a name, Sunwoo said finally. Jiho watched the glowing patterns pulse across the creature's fur. They were much brighter now, flowing like waves of light under the dark blue surface. They reminded him of flowers blooming. Nari, he said. Let's call her Nari. When he said the name, the creature turned to look at him. The patterns on her fur suddenly glowed much brighter, like tiny stars coming to life. She made a musical chirping sound and walked over to Jiho, pressing her head against his hand. I think she likes it, Sunwoo said with a small smile. Nari started making progress in communicating. She would bring them objects and make specific sounds, repeating them until they understood what she wanted. Water had one sound. Food had another. When she was happy, her patterns glowed bright. When she was scared, they dimmed. Jiho started recording everything. He documented every sound, every gesture, every pattern change. He was building a basic dictionary of Nari's language. Then on the 7th day, something incredible happened. Jiho was showing Nari pictures on his tablet, trying to teach her about Earth. He showed her a picture of a human family, pointing to the mother, father, and child. Nari became very still. She stared at the picture for a long time. Then she made a new sound, one they had never heard before. A low, mournful sound that made both young men's hearts ache. She turned to Jiho and started making urgent sounds, her patterns flashing rapidly. She scratched at the floor, drawing shapes with her claw. Circle, 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 lines connecting them. She's drawing a pack structure, Jiho whispered. She's trying to tell us about her family. Nari kept drawing and making sounds. She pointed to one circle, then touched her own chest. Then she pointed to another circle and made that mournful sound again. She mimicked chains with her paws, then pointed to the direction of the warehouse. Her mother, Sunwoo said, understanding. She's saying her mother is still captured. Still in chains. Jiho felt sick. All this time, while they had been celebrating Nari's recovery, her mother was somewhere out there suffering. And there were probably others. Other members of Nari's species, all captured and trapped. Nari started making more urgent sounds. She scratched more shapes into the floor. Time, Jiho realized. She was trying to indicate time. Soon. Happening soon. What's happening soon? Jiho asked, even though he knew she could not understand Korean yet. But Nari seemed to understand the tone of his question. She drew more circles. Many circles. Then she made a sweeping motion with her paw like something being scattered. Separated. Sunwoo pulled out his phone and started searching. Alien trafficking. Illegal trade. Let me see what I can find. Jiho held Nari close as she trembled. Her patterns were flickering rapidly, showing her distress. He thought about that warehouse, about the chains, about whoever had done this. Found something, Sunwoo said, his face pale. There's a dark web auction. Rare genetic samples from newly discovered species. It's happening in 5 days, on an orbital station above Mars. Jiho looked at Nari's golden eyes. Eyes that held intelligence and fear and desperate hope. He thought about her mother, chained somewhere, waiting to be sold. He thought about all the other members of her species who had been stolen from their homes. 5 days. They had 5 days to do something impossible. We need help, Jiho said finally. We can't do this alone. Help from who? Who's going to believe us? Who's going to help us break into an orbital station and stop an illegal auction? Sunwoo asked. Jiho was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I know someone who might. Someone who owes me a favor. Someone who's good with computers. Who? Hana Lee. She used to be a hacktivist before she got caught and forced into a cybersecurity program. If anyone can get us information about this auction, it's her. Sunwoo nodded slowly. Okay, call her. But Jiho, you realize what we're doing, right? This isn't just hiding an alien in our apartment anymore. This is planning a rescue mission. This is serious crime territory. Jiho looked at Nari. At this child who had been tortured and abandoned. At this intelligent being who was trying so hard to save her family. He thought about all the creatures being sold like objects, like things instead of people. I know, he said, but it's the right thing to do. Nari made a soft sound and pressed closer to him. Her patterns glowed gently, and for the first time Jiho felt something strange. A warmth in his chest that was not his own. A feeling of gratitude and trust that came from outside himself. She was empathic, he realized. She could sense emotions, maybe even share them, and right now she was telling him thank you. Hana Lee arrived at their apartment at midnight. She was short, with black hair cut in a sharp style and eyes that never stopped moving, always watching, always analyzing. She stepped inside and immediately froze when she saw Nari. You have got to be kidding me, she whispered. Nari tilted her head, studying the newcomer. Then she walked over slowly and made a soft chirping sound. Her patterns glowed in a gentle, welcoming pulse. Hana knelt down, her skeptical expression melting away. Hello there, she said softly. She looked up at Jiho. She's intelligent, isn't she? Really intelligent. Yes, Jiho said. And her family is about to be sold at an illegal auction. We need your help to stop it. They spent the next hour explaining everything. Hana listened carefully, her fingers already flying across her laptop keyboard. She dug into the dark web auction, breaking through security layers like they were paper. This is worse than you thought, Hana said finally. Her face was pale. The auction is run by something called the Genome Collective. They've been operating for years, grabbing members of newly discovered intelligent species before official first contact can happen. Why? Sunwoo asked. Genetic material. They harvest unique DNA and sell it on the black market for human augmentation. Want to be stronger? They have alien genes for that. Want to live longer? They have those too. Hana pulled up files on her screen. And they have protection. Some government officials are involved. This goes deep, Jiho felt sick. How many species have they taken? At least 7 that I can confirm. Maybe more. Hana looked at Nari, who was watching them with those intelligent golden eyes. Your friend's species, they're called the Mirai. Their homeworld was raided 3 months ago. 43 individuals were taken. 22 are already dead. The remaining 21 are being auctioned in 4 days. Nari made a sound of distress. Her patterns flickered rapidly. Jiho picked her up and held her close. He could feel waves of grief and fear coming from her. We have to save them, Jiho said. With what army? Hana asked. This auction is on an orbital station with military-grade security. Even if we could get there, which we can't afford, we'd never get past the guards. And even if we did, where would we take them? The government is compromised. We can't trust the authorities. Then we find people we can trust, Jiho said. And we make a plan that doesn't rely on force. We're students. We're smart. We can figure this out. Over the next 2 days, their team grew. Jiho reached out to Taemin Choi, a medical student who specialized in xenobiology. Taemin took one look at Nari's medical scans and agreed to help immediately. He brought equipment and knowledge about how to care for different alien physiologies. Then there was Yuna Park, a linguistics student who had been studying alien communication patterns. Yuna was brilliant and obsessive about her work. When Jiho showed her the recordings of Nari's language, she practically moved into their apartment. "This is incredible," Yuna said, playing the sounds back over and over. "The tonal variations, the body language, the light patterns. It's a multimodal language using sound, gesture, and bioluminescence together." She worked with Nari for hours, building a translation program. Slowly, they began to really communicate. Not just basic needs, but complex ideas. Nari could finally tell her story in words they could understand. Her people, the Mirai, were a peaceful species of pack-bonding empaths. They lived in tight family groups and could sense the emotions of others. Their society had just achieved space travel when the raiders came. Nari had been playing with other youngsters when the attack happened. She remembered the sky turning dark with ships. She remembered her mother, Sora, pushing her into a hiding place. She remembered being found anyway, being chained, being hurt when she tried to resist. "They kept me separate," Nari said through Yuna's translation program. The words appeared on screen as Nari made her sounds and patterns. "They said I was too young, not good genetic material, so they left me in the dark place to die." Everyone in the room was crying by the time she finished. Even Hana, who was usually so tough, had tears on her cheeks. "Your mother," Jiho said carefully. "Do you know if she's one of the 21 who are still alive?" Nari's patterns glowed brightly. "Yes, I can feel her. Even from far away. The pack bond is still there. She is in pain, but she is alive. Then we'll get her back," Jiho promised. "We'll get all of them back." Hana had been working non-stop on finding a way to the auction. "I have an idea," she said. "It's crazy, but it might work. The auction allows remote bidders through secure video feeds. Rich people who don't want to show their faces in person. I can forge credentials for a remote bidder company. That gets us into the auction feed," Sunwoo said. "But we need to be there physically to free the captives." "Right. So some of us go as part of the support team for a wealthy buyer. I can fake those credentials too. We say we're genetic specialists who need to examine the merchandise before our employer makes a purchase." Taemin nodded. "I can play that role. I have the medical knowledge, and I can make convincing arguments about needing to check genetic quality. We'll need fake IDs, fake credentials, fake everything." Sunwoo started making notes. "And we'll need a distraction. Something big enough to cause chaos, but not big enough to trigger a full lockdown." "I can handle the distraction," Sunwoo said. "Give me access to the station's engineering systems and I can create a cascade of false alarms. Not enough to be dangerous, but enough to pull security away from the holding area." "And once we free them?" Yuna asked. "Where do we go? We can't bring them back to Earth. The compromised officials will just take them again." Silence fell over the group. It was a good question. They could plan the perfect rescue, but without a safe destination, it would all be pointless. Nari made a sound, drawing their attention. Through the translation program, she said, "There is one place. One person who might help. Commander Hyunwoo Nam of the Naval Defense Force. My mother sensed his emotions when he inspected the station once. He was angry about what he saw, disgusted. He is a good human. He would help if he knew the truth." Hana started searching. "Commander Nam, clean record. Decorated officer, known for being strict about following the law and military ethics. He's been investigating smuggling operations for months." "So we need evidence," Jiho said. "We record everything at the auction. We document the abuse, the illegal trading, everything, and then we send it to Commander Nam along with our distress call." "That's a lot to go right," Taemin said quietly. "A lot of things that could go wrong. Do you have a better idea?" Jiho asked. Nobody did. They spent the next 48 hours preparing. Hana forged credentials that could pass military-grade security checks. Sunwoo studied the station's systems, finding vulnerabilities. Taemin prepared medical equipment they might need. Yuna taught them basic phrases in the Mirai language so they could communicate with the captives. Nari watched them work, her patterns pulsing with hope and fear. She could sense their determination, their growing bond as a team. In a way, they were forming their own pack. A human pack, choosing to protect those who could not protect themselves. On the morning of the third day, they gathered for a final meeting. The auction was tomorrow. They would take a commercial shuttle to the Mars orbital station that afternoon, posing as tourists and business travelers. "Last chance to back out," Jiho said. "What we're about to do is seriously illegal. If we get caught, we could spend years in prison. Maybe decades. I won't blame anyone who wants to walk away. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. They all just looked at Nari, at this child who represented 21 innocent lives waiting to be saved. Finally, Hana broke the silence. I've been in trouble before. Might as well make it count for something good this time. Sunwoo grinned. Besides, this is way more interesting than my engineering finals. Taemin nodded. I became a doctor to help people. All people, even if they're not human, Yuna smiled softly. I've always wanted to be part of First Contact. I just thought it would be more official. But this works too. Jiho felt warmth in his chest. That strange empathic connection with Nari growing stronger. She was sharing her gratitude with all of them, her hope and love spreading through their small pack. Okay then, he said. Let's go save your family. Nari's patterns blazed with light brighter than they had ever seen. Through the translator, she said simply, "Thank you. Thank you for being the kind of humans my mother hoped existed." They packed their equipment and prepared for the journey. Tomorrow, a small group of students would attempt something impossible. They would challenge a criminal organization with military backing. They would risk everything to save innocent lives. And maybe, just maybe, they would succeed. Because sometimes the greatest strength is not power or weapons or authority. Sometimes the greatest strength is simply caring enough to try. The orbital station hung above Mars like a metal spider, its arms stretching into space. Jiho stood at the observation window of their hotel room, his stomach tight with fear. In 6 hours, the auction would begin. In 6 hours, they would either save 21 innocent lives or fail spectacularly. Behind him, the team was making final preparations. Hana was triple-checking their fake credentials. Sunwoo was reviewing the station's system maps. Taemin was organizing medical supplies. Yuna was practicing Mirai phrases, making sure she could communicate quickly if needed. Nari was hidden in a special containment case that Sunwoo had built, one that masked her biosignature. They could not risk her being detected. The case had air holes and a small screen so she could see what was happening. "Everyone ready?" Jiho asked. They all nodded. Nobody looked confident. They were students pretending to be professionals in a world of dangerous criminals. But they had come too far to turn back now. They traveled through the station separately, meeting at the auction venue. The place was exactly as horrible as Jiho had imagined. Wealthy humans and aliens in expensive clothes, talking casually about genetic harvesting like it was normal business. Taemin and Jiho presented their credentials to the guard. "We're here to examine the specimens before our employer makes a purchase," Taemin said smoothly. His voice was steady, professional. "Genetic specialists. We need to verify quality." The guard studied their IDs. For a terrifying moment, Jiho thought he would see through the fake credentials. Then the guard nodded and waved them through. They were led to a preview area where potential buyers could examine the captives before bidding. Jiho had to force himself not to react to what he saw. The holding cells were small, barely large enough for the creatures inside. The captive Mirai looked terrible, drugged, injured, separated from each other. Their beautiful glowing patterns were dim, almost extinguished. One of the Mirai was slightly larger than the others, with scars across her side. Even in her drugged state, she lifted her head when Jiho approached. Her golden eyes met his, and Jiho felt a wave of emotion that was not his own. Pain, despair, but also a flicker of recognition. This was Sora, Nari's mother. She could somehow sense her daughter nearby, even through the dampening case. "These specimens are in poor condition," Taemin said loudly, playing his role. "Severe malnutrition. Stress-related trauma. The genetic material may be compromised." "They're alive, that's all that matters," a guard replied. "The buyers just want the DNA. They don't care about the rest." Jiho felt rage burn through him. These were people. Intelligent, feeling people. And they were being treated like objects. Like things to be used and discarded. He carefully positioned himself so the hidden camera in his glasses could record everything. Evidence. They needed evidence. The auction began an hour later. Jiho and Taemin sat in the back, watching as wealthy buyers casually bid millions for the right to harvest genetic material from sentient beings. Each sale made Jiho feel sicker. Then something went wrong. A security officer approached them, his expression suspicious. "Your credentials," he demanded. "Something's not right about them. The verification code is flagged. Jiho's heart stopped. They had been discovered. It was over. Then the lights flickered. An alarm started blaring. Radiation leak in engineering section, a voice announced over the intercom. All personnel report to safety stations. Sunwoo had triggered the distraction early. He must have been watching through the station's cameras, must have seen them getting caught. The auction area erupted into chaos. People were running, shouting, trying to evacuate. Guards rushed toward the engineering section. In the confusion, Jiho and Taemin slipped away toward the holding cells. Hana met them there, her laptop open. I'm overriding the cell locks now. You have maybe 3 minutes before security realizes the radiation leak is fake. The cell doors opened. The Mirai stumbled out, confused and weak. Jiho opened Nari's case and she burst out, running straight to Sora. The reunion was immediate and overwhelming. Nari pressed against her mother, making urgent sounds. Sora's pattern suddenly blazed with light, brighter than anything Jiho had seen. Then something incredible happened. The light from Sora's pattern spread to the other Mirai. One by one, they began to glow brighter. Their pack bond was reforming, stronger after being broken. The empathic connection they shared was amplifying, growing more powerful. And then that empathic wave hit every human in the area. Jiho gasped as he suddenly felt everything the Mirai had felt. The pain of capture. The terror of being chained. The agony of separation from loved ones. The horror of being treated like things instead of people. It was overwhelming, crushing, beautiful, and terrible all at once. All around them, people were stopping. Guards dropped their weapons, tears streaming down their faces. Auction staff fell to their knees. Even some of the wealthy buyers looked shocked, finally understanding what they had been supporting. We have to move, Yuna shouted. Some of them will recover soon. They started guiding the Mirai toward the shuttle bays. But the captives were weak, drugged, barely able to walk. Progress was slow. Too slow. Then some of the guards started helping. One woman in a security uniform stepped forward. I'll help you, she said, her face wet with tears. I felt what they felt. I can't be part of this anymore. More people joined. Staff members, maintenance workers, even a few buyers who looked disgusted with themselves. The empathic broadcast had done what no words could have done. It made people really understand what they had been supporting. But not everyone was affected. The Genome Collective's enforcers wearing empathic dampeners were regrouping. They came at the group with weapons drawn. Taemin threw himself in front of the Mirai, taking a blast meant for Sora. He went down hard, his shoulder burned and bleeding. Taemin! Yuna screamed, running to him. The situation was falling apart. They were surrounded. Taemin was injured and the Mirai were too weak to run. Jiho pulled out his communicator with shaking hands. This was it. Their last chance. He activated the broadcast he had prepared. All the evidence they had collected. All the recordings of the abuse and illegal trading. Everything sent in a tight beam transmission to one specific military address. Commander Hyunwoo Nam, Jiho said into the communicator. This is a distress call. We have evidence of illegal trafficking of sentient beings. We have 21 captives who need immediate rescue. We're on orbital station 773 above Mars. Please, if you're the man they say you are, if you care about justice, help us. The enforcers closed in. Jiho pulled Nari close, determined to protect her even if it cost him everything. This was it. This was how it ended. Then the station shook. A massive military ship had just docked with the station, moving so fast it was practically a combat maneuver. Armored soldiers poured through the docking ports, weapons drawn. Naval Defense Force. Everyone on the ground. This station is now under military authority. Commander Nam had come. He had seen the evidence, felt the empathic broadcast himself through the station's systems. And he had acted immediately. The Genome Collective enforcers tried to fight, but they were quickly overwhelmed. The commander himself walked through the chaos, his face set in hard lines. He looked at the Mirai, at their injuries and obvious abuse. He looked at the auction equipment, at the holding cells. He looked at Jiho and his friends, this small group of students who had risked everything. Get medical teams here now, Commander Nam ordered. I want every captive treated immediately. And arrest everyone involved with this operation. Everyone. He knelt down next to Jiho. You did something incredibly stupid and incredibly brave, he said quietly. You saved lives that my own investigations failed to save. Thank you. Jiho could barely speak.
Will they be safe?
The Mirai? They will be now. I'll make sure of it personally. The commander looked at Nari, who was still pressed against her mother. And you'll need to come with me too. All of you. There will be questions, investigations, but I'll make sure you're treated fairly. Medical teams arrived and started helping the injured Mirai. They treated Taemin's wound, assuring everyone he would be fine. Slowly, carefully, they began moving everyone to the safety of the military ship. As they walked through the station, Jiho saw the aftermath of what they had done. The Genome Collective's operation was destroyed. Evidence was being collected. Arrests were being made, and the Mirai were finally safe. Nari walked between Jiho and her mother, her patterns glowing with exhaustion and relief. Through Yuna's translator, she said, "You saved us, all of you. You could have ignored my suffering. But you chose to care. You chose to help." Jiho looked at his friends, at Sunwoo, who had created the distraction that saved them, at Hana, who had hacked through impossible security, at Taemin, who had taken a blast to protect others, at Yuna, who had given voice to those who could not speak. They were just students. Just ordinary people, but they had done something extraordinary. They had proven that compassion was not weakness, that caring was not foolish, that choosing to help, even when it was dangerous, was the most human thing anyone could do. And as they boarded the military ship, surrounded by the Mirai they had saved, Jiho felt something he had never felt before. He felt like he had made a real difference, like his life had meaning beyond books and studies. 3 months had passed since the rescue. Jiho sat in a comfortable chair in the Interspecies Relations building, watching the snow fall outside. So much had changed in such a short time. The world felt different now, better in some ways, more complicated in others. The footage from the auction had spread across Earth and the colonies within days. Someone had leaked it to the press, and suddenly everyone was talking about the Genome Collective and what they had done. The empathic broadcast that had affected everyone on the station had been recorded too. People could watch it, feel a fraction of what the Mirai had experienced. Public opinion had shifted overnight. There were protests demanding justice for trafficked species. Politicians who had accepted money from the Genome Collective were forced to resign. Laws were being rewritten. The Interspecies Protection Act had been fast-tracked through the Colonial Congress, establishing strict rules for first contact and severe punishment for exploitation. Commander Nam had kept his word. Instead of being arrested, Jiho and his friends had been offered positions in a newly created division focused on preventing interspecies exploitation. They were consultants now, working with the government to make sure what happened to the Mirai never happened again. Taemin had recovered fully from his injury. In fact, he had recovered faster than any human should have. Sora had taught him about Mirai empathic healing, a technique where they could share life energy with trusted friends. It was the beginning of an incredible medical cooperation between species. Taemin was now working with Mirai healers full-time, learning their methods and teaching them about human medicine. He said it was the most exciting work of his life. Hana had become the chief security consultant for the Interspecies Relations Division. She was using her hacking skills legally now, working to shut down remaining trafficking networks. She seemed happier than Jiho had ever seen her, finally using her talents for something meaningful. Sunwoo had discovered a talent for designing technology that could help different species communicate and work together. His translator devices were being used in first contact situations across the galaxy. He had 3 patents pending and more job offers than he could count. Yuna had become the leading expert on Mirai language and culture. She was writing the first comprehensive study of their society, working directly with Mirai volunteers who wanted their story told. Her work would be required reading for anyone involved in interspecies relations, and Nari. Nari had chosen to stay on Earth as an official ambassador for her people. She lived with Jiho's family now. His parents had been shocked at first, then amazed, then completely charmed by their new household member. Nari had a gift for making people care about her. The door opened and Nari walked in, followed by Sora and 2 other adult Mirai. They had all recovered remarkably well, physically at least. The psychological wounds would take longer to heal, but the Mirai were resilient, and they had their pack bonds restored. That made all the difference. "Hello, Jiho," Nari said. She spoke Korean now, her pronunciation careful but clear. The translator device she wore helped, but she was learning naturally too. Are you ready for the ceremony? Today was the official signing of the diplomatic agreement between Earth and the Mirai homeworld. Formal relations were being established, trade agreements, cultural exchanges, protection pacts. The Mirai would share their empathic healing knowledge and humanity would help protect their world from future threats. I'm ready, Jiho said. He was nervous. There would be cameras, important people, speeches. But he was not alone. His friends would be there. The Mirai would be there. They would face it together. The ceremony was held in the main assembly hall. Hundreds of people attended. Diplomats, scientists, journalists, and ordinary citizens who wanted to witness history being made. Jiho stood on stage with his team, feeling very small and very young among all these important adults. But when Nari stood beside him, her patterns glowing with confidence, he felt braver. She represented her entire species today. If she could do that at such a young age, he could handle a few speeches. The colonial president spoke first, talking about humanity's responsibility in the galaxy, about learning from mistakes, about building a future based on mutual respect rather than exploitation. Then Commander Nam spoke. He talked about the students who had risked everything to do what was right, about how true courage was not the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it. Finally, it was Nari's turn. She walked to the podium, small but dignified. When she spoke, her voice was translated for everyone to hear. My people suffered greatly at human hands, she said. We were taken from our homes. We were hurt. Many of us died. When I was left alone in the dark, waiting to die, I thought humans were monsters. The room was completely silent. Jiho saw some people crying. But then Jiho found me, Nari continued. He could have walked away. He could have protected himself. Instead, he chose to help a dying alien child. He chose compassion over safety. And he was not alone. His friends chose the same thing. They formed a pack, a human pack, to protect those who could not protect themselves. Nari's patterns pulsed brighter. I learned that humans are not all the same. Some are cruel, but others are incredibly kind. Some take, but others give everything to help strangers. My mother taught me that you can judge a species not by its worst members, but by how many choose to be good. She looked directly at Jiho. Enough humans chose to be good. Enough humans chose to care. That is why we are here today. That is why the Mirai are willing to call humanity friends. The applause was deafening. People were standing, cheering. Jiho felt tears on his face, but he did not care. He had never been prouder of humanity than in this moment. After the ceremony, there was a reception. Jiho found himself surrounded by people wanting to shake his hand, to thank him, to ask him questions. It was overwhelming. He slipped outside for some air, finding a quiet balcony overlooking the city. Nari joined him a few minutes later. Too many people? She asked. Yeah, Jiho admitted. I'm not good with crowds. Neither am I. Nari sat beside him. But we do it anyway. Because it matters. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the sun set over Seoul. The city lights began to twinkle on, one by one. Do you ever think about that day? Nari asked quietly. The day you found me? Every day, Jiho said. My whole life changed in that moment. Mine too. Nari's patterns glowed softly. I was so scared, so alone. I had given up hope. Then you came. You looked at me and saw a person, not a thing. That moment changed everything. I was just doing what felt right, Jiho said. That is what makes humans special, Nari said. Many species are intelligent. Many are strong. But humans have this incredible capacity for compassion, for caring about others even when it costs them, even when it is dangerous. My people have a word for it. We call it heart bond, the choice to protect another life at risk to your own. She turned to look at him with those bright golden eyes. You and your friends showed us that humans have heart bond. Not all of you, but enough, and that makes all the difference. Jiho felt that familiar warmth in his chest, the empathic connection they shared. What happens now? He asked. Now we build a future together, Nari said. Humans and Mirai working as partners, teaching each other, protecting each other. There will be challenges, but if we face them with the same spirit that brought us here, I think we will be okay. The door opened and the rest of their team came out. Sunwoo was laughing about something Hana had said. Taemin and Yuna were discussing a new research project. Sora and the other Mirai followed, their patterns glowing with contentment. "There you are," Sun Wu called. "We were looking for you. Someone wants to meet us." They went back inside, where a group of young Mirai were waiting. They had just arrived from the Mirai homeworld, part of the first cultural exchange program. They were curious about Earth, about humans, about everything. One of them, a small Mirai with bright green patterns, approached Nari shyly. "Is it true?" the young one asked. "Are all humans as brave as the stories say?" Nari looked at Jiho and his friends, at these ordinary people who had done extraordinary things, at these students who had changed the course of history with nothing but compassion and determination. "Not all humans are brave," Nari said honestly. "Just like not all Mirai are brave. But enough of them are. Enough of them choose kindness over cruelty. Enough of them choose to help instead of looking away." She smiled, her patterns glowing brightly. "And that is what makes them remarkable." The young Mirai looked at Jiho with wonder. "Thank you," the child said softly, "for saving my people, for showing us that humans can be good." Jiho knelt down to be at eye level with the young alien. "Thank you for giving us a chance, for trusting us even after what some humans did to your people." The young Mirai reached out and touched Jiho's hand. Through that touch, Jiho felt a wave of pure trust and hope. This child, this representative of a species that had suffered so much at human hands, was choosing to believe in humanity's goodness. It was humbling. It was inspiring. It was everything Jiho had ever dreamed first contact would be. As the evening continued, humans and Mirai mixed together, talking and learning and building connections. It was messy and awkward sometimes, as any first meeting between species would be.